Hello and welcome to the class. My name's Paddy. Today we're going to be talking about part 2 of the IELTS listening test. If you have any questions after you watch this class, remember that you can click on the chat icon at the top of your page here. Send us a message with any questions that you have. This is the first class of 2 classes, and this video will last about 20 minutes. First, we're going to talk about underlining keywords in the question, and then we're going to look at some examples of multiple choice questions that you might see in the second part of the listening test. By the end of this video, you will be more aware of how to quickly read multiple choice questions in part 2. During this video, there will be some questions for you to answer. You can find these below the video. I will tell you when you need to answer these questions, and I will give you between 10 and 15 seconds to answer them. Okay, let's get started. So, one of the challenging things about the IELTS listening test is the limited amount of time you have to choose your answers. There are 4 sections or 4 parts of the listening test, and each of those is divided into 2 different parts usually. Each of these parts will have different question types. Between those parts, you get 20 to 30 seconds to read the questions. The speaker will usually tell you which questions you need to look at. For example, they might say, now look at questions 26 to 30. It is very important that you use this time to read the questions that you will hear in the future. This is not time to check your answers from before. It's not time to change your mind. You need to use this time to look at those questions and understand what you have to listen for. Because of this limited time, it's important to be able to read the questions as quickly as possible. To do this, one good strategy is to underline keywords in the question so you know what the main ideas are to focus on. What is a keyword? A keyword is a word which contains the most important information or the most relevant information in the sentence. Usually, keywords alone are enough to understand the main idea of the sentence. Keywords are usually nouns, so things like people, places, and locations. However, they can also be verbs if the activity is very important, and they can also be adjectives. For example, a word that describes the function or the material of an object could be a keyword. So we're going to look at an example now. This is a multiple choice question, and it comes from a part 2 question which talks about consumer products, home appliances, and the differences between them. Let's read the question. Why does Fawaz recommend the gas oven rather than the electric oven? So we can see here that this question is asking us to compare 2 different things and listen for that comparison. What 2 things are being compared in this question? Look at the first question below this video and choose 2 things which are being compared. Is it gas oven, the electric fan oven, price, Fawaz, or the environment? Choose the 2 options that are being compared. So the 2 options being compared here are the gas oven and the electric fan oven. We also need to look at the options of this question. The options also contain keywords which we need to listen for to choose the correct answer. So looking at A, we can see it has a lower price. So here I think price is going to be the main thing we're going to be listening for. Is it lower, higher? Do they talk about price? Is it relevant to the differences? Is that why he recommends it? We might also underline lower if we think that's going to be the important information. In B, it says it has been proven to be better for the environment. So again, we're going to listen for better and environment. So any language which is connected to the idea of it being better, superior, and environment, something ecological or green. In C, it takes less time for it to heat up. So there I would say less time is important and heat up. So we're going to be listening for anything connected to those ideas. My next question is, are we going to be listening for these keywords? As you can see, I have highlighted the keywords in yellow. Are we going to listen for these keywords in the recording? Look at the next question below this video and decide if that statement is true or false. You should listen for these keywords in the audio. True or false? So that is false. We're not going to be listening for these keywords. It is often unlikely that they will repeat the exact wording of the question. So during this time, we should also be thinking of any synonyms or paraphrasing of these phrases. Let's look at A, for example. It has a lower price. So keywords and synonyms here might include cheaper, lower cost, less money, maybe the customer doesn't spend so much in shops, things like this. So your mind should constantly be thinking of those possible synonyms to listen for in the audio. We're going to look at a different multiple choice question here. This comes from the same part, but this is a different question. This type of multiple choice question is a little bit different because we can see it's a sentence to complete. So the three options are the ending of the sentence. This can be a little bit difficult because all three of those options are grammatically possible. So we need to listen to identify which one is true. Looking at the question, just the question, Fawaz believes that the best kitchen cookers. What would you say are the keywords in the beginning of that sentence? Look at the next question below this video and choose the key word, the most important word in that question sentence. Select the correct option now. So the best option here is best. So kitchen cookers appears to be the topic of this talk in general, so that's not really a keyword. And Fawaz believes is just telling us his opinion. So again, we're going to be listening for something connected to best, superior, the most useful, some comparative or superlative form. Now, again, let's look at those options and identify the keywords. A, were made in the 19th century. So maybe made and 19th century there. So something about them being created and the time that they were created. B, have no plastic components. So plastic as a material and components. And in C, are only available in European countries. So European countries is obviously a key word there, but I'd also include available. So we're not talking about that they're made in European countries, but that they are available. Again, we should be thinking about synonyms of these words. In A, we have the word made. Possible synonyms include manufactured or created. 19th century. We may, if it's a challenging one, we may hear 1800s. So some period in that time would mean the 19th century. Plastic, there is no synonym for plastic. The material plastic is the correct word for that material. So we may hear this in the recording and we should listen for it. Components, we have parts of a machine, or pieces of an object. Both of those would be synonyms of components. Available, maybe can be bought or can be found. And of course, European countries, they might just say Europe to mean European countries. Okay, we're going to practice a multiple choice question together now. So here we have two questions from a part 2 listening. Now, if we read these questions quickly, we might be able to identify the main topic of this talk. So, looking for key words, can you identify the key word that summarizes this topic? Look at the next question below this video and choose, is it seed, countries, environmental problems, or farmers? Choose the correct option for the keyword. So the main keyword here is the word seed or seeds. We can see this word several times in both questions, so we know that the talk is going to be on this topic. Let's look at some more keywords for both of these questions. Question 11 starts with the phrase heritage seed bank. Now, what you may notice about this is that it has capital letters. This tells us it's a proper noun. Maybe it's an important organization, a location, something like this. This is useful because proper nouns do not change. We can't paraphrase them. So in the listening recording, we can expect to hear the phrase heritage seed bank. The first option, A, plants from 50 countries. So plants is important to distinguish it from seeds, and 50 countries. You should be careful when you see numbers, because numbers will often be thrown into the listening to confuse you. The context may be slightly different. It may be talking about 50 countries or 50 other things, for example. In B, we have seeds, and seeds from specifically Europe and Asia. In C, again, we have another number. We want to be careful with this, make sure it really is talking about 40,000 seeds and not something else. Let's look at question 12. Question 12 talks about the seeds being used, so it's about the purpose of having these seeds. A, if there is a decrease in Europe and Asia's biodiversity. Biodiversity is a useful word because it's quite scientific. This suggests that they will use the same word in the recording. Not necessarily, but it's very likely. B, if the world is affected by serious environmental problems. So we're going to be listening for any language which talks about the whole planet being affected by serious environmental problems. And finally, C, we have to restore farmers' crops. So it's going to be talking about agriculture, the food that farmers grow in their fields. What we're going to do now is play the recording and try to get the answers to these two questions. Remember, we will probably hear them talk about something related to option A, option B, and option C for both questions. But using those keywords, try to make sure which answer is correct because it will satisfy all of the meaning of that phrase. Okay, I'm going to play the recording. You must look at the next two questions, so question 11 and question 12, that are both below this video. And when you have finished listening, select the correct option.
Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you all to the Dukehurst Estate, one of the most popular attractions of South East England. Dukehurst Estate is a wonderful example of our 17th century ancestors' dedication to the art of gardening and landscaping. And this tradition has continued until today. In the year 2000, we opened the Heritage Seed Bank, an international project with funding from over 50 countries. The seed bank aims to preserve and document plant life from Europe and Asia by collecting and storing seeds in special low-temperature rooms. The 40,000 different species of plants stored at the centre are intended to provide a resource for restoring the biodiversity of not only the two continents, but the whole planet, in the event of an ecological disaster. It works in close cooperation with the seed bank in Svalbard in Norway, which houses important agricultural crop seeds that will preserve our most precious food sources. In addition to the seed bank, I'd also recommend a walk around the mansion, which was first constructed in 17...
We're going to listen again, and now I'm going to show you the audio script. The audio script is a record of the main part of what was said during that listening. What I'd like you to do is to listen again and try and identify where they say the correct answer and also where those other options are mentioned. So listen for those keywords in the other options that we saw. Let's listen and follow through the text.
Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you all to the Dukehurst Estate, one of the most popular attractions of South East England. Dukehurst Estate is a wonderful example of our 17th century ancestors' dedication to the art of gardening and landscaping. And this tradition has continued until today. In the year 2000, we opened the Heritage Seed Bank, an international project with funding from over 50 countries. The seed bank aims to preserve and document plant life from Europe and Asia by collecting and storing seeds in special low-temperature rooms. The 40,000 different species of plants stored at the centre are intended to provide a resource for restoring the biodiversity of not only the two continents, but the whole planet, in the event of an ecological disaster. It works in close cooperation with the seed bank in Svalbard in Norway, which houses important agricultural crop seeds that will preserve our most precious food sources. In addition to the seed bank, I'd also recommend a walk around the mansion, which was first constructed in 17...
Let's look at the recording. An international project with funding from over 50 countries. So this here was a distractor. It was not plants from 50 countries, but funding. So both of the keywords were not satisfied there. In 11b, seeds from Europe and Asia. The seed bank aims to preserve and document plant life from Europe and Asia. Can we see anything about seeds? By collecting and storing seeds in special low temperature rooms. So here, the keywords from that option are satisfied. It is the correct answer. And 40,000 seeds was option C. 40,000 seeds. Well, we see here 40,000 different species of plants. So it doesn't actually talk about 40,000 seeds, but rather different species. So this could be many more seeds than 40,000. Now, question 12. The seeds will be used, A, if there is a decrease in Europe and Asia's biodiversity. Well, we can see restoring the biodiversity of not only the two continents, but the whole planet. So it mentions the two continents, which must be Europe and Asia, that they mentioned in the first half, but it says not only, but the whole planet. So we're talking about the world, not just Europe and Asia. So A was not correct there. B, if the world is affected by serious environmental problems. So the biodiversity of the whole planet in the event of an ecological disaster. Ecological disaster, environmental problems. It's a good paraphrase synonym there. And finally, option C, to restore farmers' crops in the future. Well, we can see important agricultural crop seeds, but here it's talking about the seed bank in Svalbard in Norway. So it's no longer talking about this heritage seed bank in the question. That is the end of the class. Remember, if you have any questions, you can click on that chat icon at the top of your page there to send us a message. Now it's time to take class 2 on this topic. Do any extra training and practice activities that you see on this topic. Thank you for listening.